The Incompetent Way to Fix Crossout, a rant by Dangerously Incompetent. Before I get into the meat of this video, I want you to think about something for me. You're going to take a build and then you're going to play 100 battles, and then you can take another build and you're going to play 100 battles. Which build are you going to get the most wins in? Which build are you going to get the most, the highest scores, and therefore the most resources for? Is it going to be this build, 5,000 power score, or is it going to be this build, about 5,000 power score? Which of these builds will get, out of 100 battles, would get you the most wins, the highest scores, the most rewards? Which one? Yes, I think the Spark Vista is going to get them the best results as well. And that is the cause of Crossout's problem. That a new player, well, not the new players, the people in the crash, the people who are under level 10 in the engineers, they're having a whale of a time. They're running around in their builds and they've got common parts and maybe the odd rare part, or whites and blues, and they're facing enemies who have got whites and blues. It's a very level playing field when they meet other players. In fact, most of the time they're fighting bots, but they don't quite realise that yet. So the intermediate players, who above level 10 in the engineers, they've come out into the main pool for matchmaking in missions, and they've got a build that's got blue parts in it. Maybe they spent some money on a pack and they got some purple parts now, and they played a bit more and they've earned a few more purple and played around with the builds. But they realise they're getting caned. Sooner or later they'll realise they're getting caned, they're getting their heads kicked in by people driving around in these things. And, you know, it becomes obvious to them that the people with the legendaries, they're the more powerful builds, even though their power scores are the same and they're meeting in the same battles. The experienced player, like me, who's got his pick of legendaries, has the advantage. You're playing in a game where the other player has an advantage, and they've realised that the grind is quite long. It's going to take them a long time to get purple weapons. It's going to take them even longer to get legendary weapons, and relics is years away. And it becomes obvious to them they're going to play battle after battle after battle after battle after battle and get their heads kicked in by people with an advantage, in their build. Not just the advantage of being more experienced, knowing the maps, knowing the strengths and weaknesses of all the different weapons, knowing how players generally behave. There's this fundamental disadvantage in that I've got blue weapons and you've got purple and legendary and relic. And that's when the intermediate players are quitting. Now, Targem know they've got a problem with overpowered, unbalanced weapons, because we get a constant series of nerfs to the higher powered weapons and buffs to other ones, and up and down it goes. But it's too late, it's too slow. It takes time for the devs to make the changes, and then it takes time to put them into testing, and then lots of people scream at them because their favourite legendary that spent so long getting is now just been nerfed into the ground. They scream their heads off and complain until the nerf is reduced, and we can now have the spark and the harvester and do just as much damage as you did before. And it's too slow, it's too late. The intermediates have mostly quit. There's a big pool of experienced players who've got the legendaries and the purples and a few, and then the veterans with their relics, and the few newbies, new guys that trickle into the game. They come in, they have a whale of a time in the crash, then they go into the intermediate, and then they face this, and then they quit. It's too late, it's too slow. The damage has been done, and there's so few intermediates left that almost every battle they're seeing a large chunk of experienced players who pwn them even more. So the nerfing of powerful weapons isn't enough. Isn't quick enough. It's too late for it. So I propose another fix. The essence of my fix is that there be an automated feedback system that week on week changes the power scores of parts depending on how well the players that used them did in battle. So the most OP weapon that week will increase its power score by, say, 15%. So you get to the state where a build like this, the Harvester and the Spark and the Bigfoot, will have increased in power score so much that it's now a 7,000 power score vehicle. So Mr. Intermediate, who's got blue sledgehammers, he won't meet it. He's at 5,000 power score. He's incredibly unlikely to see a 7,000 power score vehicle. It's only when there's very, very, very few players actually playing at the time that he'll meet it. And then they go, oh, he's 7,000 power score. That's why he's beating you. It's not that he's got parts that I can't get. It's that his build is far more powerful than mine. It's obvious. That's a matchmaking failure, and it only happens occasionally. So, but most of the time he's meeting 5,000 power score, which isn't meeting overpowered stuff, more powerful builds that he can't get. So it's a very level, as the intermediate player plays, he sees a very level playing field in each battle. It's all people with parts that are equivalent in killing power efficiency, in defensive ability as his own. And it's a level playing field, and then he's happy playing. He's not just getting his head kicked in by people who have an advantage. The advantage of changing the power score as opposed to any of the other attributes of a part, like its mass or its energy requirements or its build box, is that changing the power score doesn't invalidate any builds. You can, no matter what's happened to the power score, you can still take that build and you can still run into a battle. Okay, you might be in a higher power score battle, or you might be in a lower power score battle, but you haven't had any problems. You haven't had to rebuild your vehicle. It's not going to knock anyone off that way. And the advantages of having an automated feedback system is that it doesn't require the developers to make a judgment call and then implement those nerfs or buffs and then test them and then get them out. It happens week on week automatically, and it will deal with new parts coming in. Put in a new weapon, and oh look, it's underpowered. People tried it, said it's rubbish, they stopped using it. People aren't using it, not doing very well with it, then its power score will decrease and decrease and decrease until it finds the level where it's as effective as the other parts at that sort of power score. So how exactly will this automated feedback system work? Well, I'm glad you asked. Every part will have a power score efficiency rating. And every battle, the person who scored the most, whether they're on the winning team or the losing team, every unique part in their build will get +3 to its power score efficiency rating. And for the person who came second in the scores, all their parts get +2, and the person who came third will all get +1. And then the person who did worst in the battle score-wise, all their unique parts will have -3 to their power score efficiency rating. And then the second worst, -2 to all their parts power score efficiency rating, and -1 from the third worst. So the people who did really well, their score goes up. All the people who did really badly, their part scores go down. And that is repeated over every battle for a whole week. And at the end of the week, all the power score efficiency ratings are compared, and the part with the highest, that is the part that did the best in battle, the most efficient killer, the best defense for its power score goes up by 15%. And then the second place one goes up by 10%, and the third place one goes up by 5%. And then on the opposite end, The part with the lowest power score efficiency rating, its power score is decreased by 15%, and the second worst by 10%, and the third worst by 5%. And this happens automatically week after week after week. So the OP weapons will do well if there's say a new weapon comes in and it does really well, and it's obviously everyone can say, oh, it's overpowered. The devs have bunged it in at too low a power score. But no one needs to do anything except play the game, because the game will then measure, oh look, that part, people using that part, they win all the time, more often than they're losing. So obviously that part is overpowered, so its power score is going to increase, and it will keep on increasing until it's not overpowered for its power score. It's not too efficient a killer at that power score. It will find its own, the game will find its own equilibrium, its own level for every single part. And this system will deal with new parts, it will deal with people coming up with a new way of using an old part, or they paired it with something else. In summary, Crossout is slowly dying because there's a constant trickle of players leaving because they played for ages and they want to do something else, they want to do something different, and their numbers are not being replaced. Newbies are coming in, having a whale of a time, and then they're getting to the intermediate stage and being seal clubbed out of the game. Not enough intermediates are carrying on playing the game to become experienced players and carry on playing for ages. Too many are leaving. The player population of Crossout is slowly declining. My fix is to prevent seal clubbing, banish overpowered parts by means of an automated feedback system that constantly balances the power score of every part based on its performance in battle. That's what I see Crossout's problem being, and that's my fix for it. If you have a better idea, I'm sure the devs would love to hear it.